Welcome back to another episode of the Be Who You Came to Be podcast. I'm your host, Tara Renze. I have an incredible guest on our show today, Tom Turcich, who has actually walked the freaking world, okay? Like, if you've ever gone on a long walk, guess what? He's gone on one even longer. Tom Turcich is the 10th person to ever walk all the way around the globe, a feat that took him 7 years, 6 continents, 38 countries, and over 25,000 miles. But this journey wasn't just about physical endurance. It was about purpose, healing, and discovering what truly matters. Now, it wasn't just Tom that walked the world. Alongside him was his loyal companion, Savannah, a rescue dog who quickly became a symbol of trust, loyalty, and the beauty of connection. From facing wild animals and political unrest to experiencing the quiet kindness of strangers, Tom's story will remind you that transformation does not happen all at once. It happens step by step. Tom is now a motivational speaker, the author of a children's book, Savannah's World Adventure, and his story has been featured on CNN, Good Morning America, The Today Show, and more. But today, he's here on the Be Who You Came to Be podcast. Tom, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. That was such a fantastic summary.
Well, you know, we come prepared to the Be Who You Came to Be podcast. I mean, I am competing with the likes of CNN, Good Morning America, and The Today Show.
Yeah, but we know each other, so it's much more comfortable here. The conversation will be better.
It is. That has to be a little bit unnerving to have those big media hits.
Yeah, the first time I was on Good Morning America, my heart was in my head for sure. But they're professionals and they made me feel very comfortable. So it kind of just flies by.
They probably prep you pretty good for those media hits, right? Like they're like, this is what we're going to talk about. Have your answers thought out and ready to go.
I don't know. I think they didn't really. It was very loose. I feel like they have a fantastic green room, which is just amazing, and they have all these people coming in and giving you food and water and whatever drinks you want, kind of thing. But as far as the questions, it was very loose. And at the end, they presented me with a pyramid of peanut butter and jellies because I told them, I guess in like the pre-interview calls, that's what I lived on basically for 7 years. And so they thought I might want some more. So they came out at the end with this massive pyramid of peanut butter jellies, which I did not know that was coming.
Oh my God, that is so fun. I did a influencer day at Dave Ramsey. I don't know if you're familiar with Dave Ramsey, but they invite people in about once a year to come into their home office, and ultimately they're looking for their next Ramsey influencer. But I got to tell you, like, as far as a media engine, I mean, the Dave Ramsey show is like a well-oiled machine, and they were talking about their media hits, and they actually, I guess it must be the Ramsey team that really gets them prepped for like what they want to drive home, what they want to say, how they're going to say it, so that when they're on the show, because they did say it's like a whirlwind, like you're on and off before you know it.
Yeah, it's very quick. And definitely if your head is not clear, if you don't know exactly what you're going to say, it's going to get off course. I know our agent, Kelly, definitely tried to media train me, has been trying to media train me. But it's the kind of thing where my story has so many different facets to it. And it's kind of every time I'm on a podcast or some media hit, they ask me questions that I'm not expecting or that I haven't answered on the last one. And so there's just a lot of different ways to take it. And I'm not here to shill anything, so I don't really feel the need to. I'm just going to be myself and let that go.
Well, let's dive into this. I mean, let's start at the beginning. What inspired you to walk around the world?
I had a friend who passed away when I was 17 and she was 16, and we grew up together, and she was just a fantastic person. Anne-Marie, the nicest person I knew. I know everyone says this, like it's as a platitude that, when someone dies, oh, they were the greatest person. But with Anne-Marie, I really mean that. She was just kind of nice to the point that it drove me crazy when I was younger, because you could never get her to say anything unkind. And so when she died in this accident, it was the first time I was close to someone who passed away. And then I think it was also, impactful because I was 17. But then on top of that, because she was so nice and in my mind, so much clearly better than I was, better student, a better person, that it really drove home the fact that, if Anne-Marie can die, then so can I at any time. And so it knocked me into this fog for months, and I didn't know how to integrate that fact that I was going to die into how to live. And it wasn't until someone played Dead Poet Society in class, Carpe Diem, seize the day, all that, that I found something to latch onto. And so then Carpe Diem became my mantra, what I live by. And for a while, it was kind of just the idea of Carpe Diem. And I would read everything that was in Dead Poet Society, Whitman and Frost and Thoreau. And, I was trying to just absorb this idea, but I wasn't doing anything different. I wasn't really taking any new actions. And eventually, actually, it was this like I had this third date with this girl, Brittany, that I was crushing on, and we had French class together, and I could just never find the confidence to kiss her. And I would see these moments where I'm thinking, oh, like this is a moment
like
where you can
right out of a movie type moment.
Very much, yeah, very much. Whereas like I could do this here and change the direction of the night and my day just by doing something, and I couldn't. And then on the third date, I said goodnight and I walked down the street. I'm sitting on the curb and on my phone it says Carpe Diem on there. I'm staring at this. I'm like, God, like if you don't do something now, then you're gonna lose this forever.
Right.
Maybe this
steal
clear
the kiss.
Exactly. So I texted her. She came back outside. I kissed her, and then once I had taken action, once that happened, it was like I understood the universe, or I understood life suddenly, where you can direct life. You can direct your own life by taking action. Mm-hmm. And so then I fell into this passionate kind of search to figure out what did I want out of life. And when I really thought about it, I wanted to travel. I wanted adventure. I wanted to understand the world. And initially that kind of took the form of I was just reading every travel blog I could online. Instead of doing any sort of schoolwork, I'm just reading travel blogs late at night, getting C's and just reading about, where these people are going, what trails to walk, what cities are interesting.
Are you in college now?
No, that was
still in high school?
Senior year of high school. Yep. Senior year of high school. So this is like winter senior year of high school. And then I discovered these two men who had walked around the world. And once I saw that, it was like this light went off where this was this thing, this singular idea that aligned with everything I wanted out of life. And so then it became 8 years of saving and planning and going to school and paying off loans and keeping it in focus until I was able to begin. And I didn't begin the walk until the day before I turned 26. So it was a long time coming before I even began the walk.
Yeah. So, gosh, that is a long time coming to really have I call these butterfly goals where, when you first started out, that you literally were like a piece of larva. You weren't even a caterpillar yet. You were just like this tiny piece of larva that was like, I want to walk the world. Right. But it took you that long. And sometimes these goals, I think so many people would have given up on that dream. They would have said, oh, I was 17, I was grief stricken. I was looking for an escape. And then you go and then the world starts happening. Right. And then we get caught up in life and, like you said, student loans and, we got to go get a job. And now we got to go do the thing that we call quote unquote life, which is adulting, which for so many people means, getting a job, getting a house, having kids, settling down, blah, 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 blah. And I think it's just so magical that you didn't let this dream die. I will tell you, my biggest regret in life is that I did not study abroad or live abroad when I was in my early 20s before I entered the workforce.
Yeah, I mean, it's living abroad or being abroad when you're young is really powerful, and it just shows you that there's different ways to do things. But to go to your point of, this life just kind of catching up to you and overwhelming you, and then also your butterfly goal for me in my speaking, I refer to it as setting a flag. And that's why I thought of it at the time, was that I knew this was so far away that in my mind, I just put a flag way in the distance. And so then it really simplified all my choices. And so when I thought about, say, after college, had this long-term girlfriend I was very much in love with, but was
this the kiss?
What's that?
Was this the kiss?
No. She wasn't into me.
Brittany, sorry, Brittany.
Yeah, she was. No, we're still great friends, and but no, this is a different girl, and we had a good relationship, and I could see my life going one way or the other. Either with her, she wanted to move out to Colorado, start a life there. But then on the other end, I had the World Walk. And so it kind of gave me having a flag gave me this measure where it goes, what decision should I make? And for that decision, it was, unfortunately, end things with her. I was just too young. The timing wasn't right, and go towards the flag. And then same with like after college, where I ended up living at home, where a lot of people were living in Philly or New York and, starting their lives. But I lived at home because, getting furniture, that's an expense that's taken away from paying off the student loans that would, enable me to leave the walk quicker. And then people go on vacation. I'd get invited on vacation or out to bars, and I go, I'm going to stay at home and write because this is this thing I'm working towards. And in a certain way, it was very clarifying having that flag set where, and I think it's, pretty rare in life. I think you have to have a sense of yourself and what you value and what you want out of life. But if you're able to set that, it's very, very clarifying, and it makes a lot of your decisions a lot easier. So I think that's how I was able to kind of go from the cocoon into the butterfly of the World Walk.
Yeah. So what was your college major?
I was psych and philosophy, so
okay, I was like
two
geography
very useless,
or like
no, totally useless, majors, but they're interesting to me.
Yeah. Okay, so what did your parents think?
My dad loved it. He was a wild man. He lived under a tarp in Hawaii for 5 years and spearfished for food. So the apple doesn't fall far from the tree in that way.
Say.
And my mom was much more, she knew how just naive and young I was, and even after college, just how I had grown up in a very protected little bubble in the suburbs, in a wealthy corner, in the wealthiest corner of the world. Not that we were wealthy, we were middle class, but all things considered, I didn't really know much of the world, and I think she knew that, and she was just worried that I would maybe fall on my face before I had a chance to really, build myself up a little bit. But after the first year, I remember when I was in Panama City, this is the last day of my first year of walking. I sat down, I'm like in the city. I only have 6 miles until this Airbnb where I'm going to, rest up and then take this flight to Panama, start the second year, or take a flight to Colombia, start the second year. And I'm sitting there texting my dad, happy birthday, and, feel something cold on my neck. It ends up this guy, holding a knife to me and trying to rob me. It's this whole story. You can read my book, The World Walk, it's in there. But anyway, I texted my mom afterwards about all this, and she's like, oh, glad you're okay. Good luck on the next stage. So it totally changed in 1 year. She was like, you can handle yourself, kind of thing.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's start with the first step. So had you mapped out like how long it would take you, where you would start, or was it kind of like, I'm going to map out 6 months and then the next 6 months?
It was a similar thing to like aiming for the World Walk in general. It was another flag setting sort of thing where I would say by the end of the first year, I want to be in Panama City. And then it's a matter of, all right, how do I get there? And what I found very early on is that you really couldn't plan that far ahead, because whatever path you think you're going to take, whatever road you think you're going to take, is going to end up being wildly different in reality than it is in theory. When I first began, I had all these maps, these bike route maps that I thought were going to take me all the way down to Florida, and it's going to be great and it's going to be peaceful. And then they took me onto these Pennsylvania roads that were windy with no shoulder. I almost died like 3 times on that, walking these bends. I was like, all right, these are in the trash. I got to figure out something else. And then every time I would get into a new country, it's a whole other problem to solve. Okay, how many people are here? Like, how dense is it? What are the roads like? How far apart are the cities? What's the landscape like? Are people out at night? Are they not out at night? And so there's all these factors that come into play where you got to find what is the best way to, get where you want to go pretty direct, but also I didn't want to be on a road that's loud and but you also don't want to be on this very peaceful trail that's taking you in the wrong direction kind of thing. And so it was very much, you set that flag, set that broad goal, and then the day to day, you just kind of trust that you'll be able to figure it out.
Right. I mean, thank God for technology. I can't imagine. As a mother, I obviously would have been like, did you have Life 360? Were they just tracking you the whole
No, no,
time?
that's
Oh.
amazing.
But even just the fact that you could communicate with them, because, you know, I mean, I am way older than you. Like when I went to college, like I didn't even have a cell phone. Like it literally, we had an answering machine. I don't know. Do you even remember answering machines where
Oh
it was
yeah.
like so fun to like leave a message? My roommate and I had a whiteboard where we left, you know, we didn't text or anything. We'd just be like, yo, I went to the grocery store. I'd be back in 2 hours or wherever. We just leave each other these notes. So it was nice that you had technology, although I'm sure that there were many times that your cell phone was not working because of it just not working. How many miles did you walk a day?
So I walked probably 24 miles a day, closer to, like, let's say 18, 21 minimum was what I would aim for. But yeah, the technology factor was real. I was the first person to walk around the world with like modernish technology.
Right.
I was able to FaceTime my family if I got into a hotel and catch up with them in that way. I had Google Maps, and you can download the maps and the GPS works even if it's offline. But everyone before me, so that like my idols, Steve Newman, who did it in the 70s, Carl Bushby, who's still doing it, it's been doing it for forever, but he started in the 90s. They didn't have, Google Maps, or they're not able to FaceTime their friends, or, are not going with the cell phone at all. So definitely it offered this sort of strange connection that was really nice when I needed it. But also I was still so removed that, the relationships that really mattered strengthened, I think, and the ones that didn't sort of fell by the side. And so, yeah, I mean, it was very, I think it got me through a lot, probably, I'm sure, being able to just FaceTime my family from
Right.
faraway places.
Right. The amount of isolation, though, even with technology, I mean, I think that we know that technology is great, but it's not a replacement for human connection. And I think there's, this loneliness epidemic that's happening in the country. People do feel isolated even behind technology. At, at what point were you on this walk and you kind of thought, like, I'm so alone? I mean, it had to have happened, or like, what the fuck was I thinking? Like, what am I doing? Like, how am I going to, I mean, 7 years is a long time. I think
Yeah,
that people lose sight of how long 7 years is.
it's a long time. And I was very tired by the end and ready to be over with it. So it was all the time. That's the thing about walking also, is that it's just you and you out there, and it's you and your thoughts. And you learn to be really good company to yourself, because you have to be. And if you're not, your mind is just going to eat you alive with whatever, anxieties or thoughts that you have that are eating away at you. And I think it really was most pronounced when I was in the deserts of Peru and Chile. For about 6 months, I was just walking the desert, the coast of both of those countries. And, there's stretches where I would go. There's like a stretch in North Peru where I went 200 kilometers. So it's something like, what would that be? I don't know, 100 something miles, or no, less than that. But it was like, no, but yeah, about 100 miles. It was like 220 kilometers or something with nothing there. And so I'm just walking out there through this, trying to go as fast as I can, as much as I can every day. But it's just you, and there's no internet connection, and you're listening to the same music over and over again, and you're just with your thoughts. And it is a very vulnerable place to be. And I think technology covers it up a lot, because we can just grab a dopamine hit whenever we want. If as soon as we're alone, we can pick up our phone, and then we're connected to the entire world, and we can grab onto some news that makes us anxious, or some videos of a dog that makes us happy, and we can cover ourselves up a bit. But when you're walking, you can't. And I think what gets lost with the prevalence and just the like abundance and availability of technology in every area of our lives is that we kind of forget to be human in a certain way. We start expecting ourselves to act like machines where we should be even more efficient and, we should be working harder. And if we have a bad day, then we beat ourselves up over it because we shouldn't be having a bad day. And when we look on Instagram, everyone's, in Cabo or in Croatia, and they're all on their highlights. And why am I not on my, doing on all these places, doing all these things? But we are humans. We are like dumb plants or smart plants, I guess. And you need sunshine and you need exercise. And you also are not ever going to be perfectly efficient. And so when I was out there and you're out there with your thoughts, you kind of really come to terms with this and go, look, you're going to be sore some days and you're not going to want to walk the other days, but you try your best and you're going to fail. And then you try again. And that's, it calms you down in a way, and it makes you more resilient when you realize that you're human and kind of stop trying to be.
Hey, it's Tara, and guess what? We are taking this show on the road. I am hitting the road for my Be Who You Came to Be book tour, and I could not be more excited. I have partnered with Kristen Cavallari's Uncommon James stores for an unforgettable experience. The first stop, Chicago on September 25th. P.S. Dallas and Nashville dates are going to be added soon, so stay tuned. Head on over to my website, snag your ticket, and be part of an incredible experience with the Be Who You Came to Be movement and Uncommon James. So there's an interesting statistic that a human being has like 6,200 thoughts a day. 80% of them are actually negative, biased, and repetitive. So we are just our brains are wired as humans living, in America. I'm using Americans as an example to be, the mind is constantly triggering stuff, and most of it's negative, most of it's repetitive, and most of it's biased based on our perceptions. Did you find that was more so in isolation? Or I love that you said that I was able to get more control of my thoughts, because I believe that so many of our thoughts are negative. We feed so much negativity because of technology, because of everything that we're consuming, because of comparison, and we're constantly benchmarking versus just getting deep into our souls of the thoughts.
Yeah, I think on the broader scale, the thing that helps is just to recognize that you are one person and you can only live one life and you can't be everywhere at once. And the thing that you're doing, if you're content with it, that's enough. I mean, it's enough to just exist in the world, play some pickleball, garden, hang out with your friends. That is a life. You can only live one life. That on a broader sense, I think that is a very useful understanding to have. And it's a hard thing to really have sink in, but it's the truth. And then on a more granular, on that level, on a smaller level, if you can, so for example, I was out there walking, and in the desert in particular, and when you're spending so much time listening to your own thoughts, you realize that, and maybe you develop the ability to just dismiss your thoughts.
Yeah. Well, I tell my audience this all the time. I'm like, you have to understand that you are not your thoughts. You have to be able to delineate and say, that is not a truth. It's a thought. And sometimes I will just let my mind go. And I have the most fucked up things come into my head where I'm like, oh my God, if these were published in the world, people would be like, what is wrong with this person? But just so you know, everyone has this, but so many people are not able to distinguish that is not a truth of mine. It's just the mind triggering. What do they say? The mind is a terrible master, amazing servant.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, no, I mean, exactly that, where you have all these thoughts, but they're not all useful, and you don't have to listen to them. They're just, your brain is just firing, oh, what about this? What about this? And just throwing ideas around. You don't have to latch onto them. But it's also way, way, way easier said than done. It is not an easy thing to do, to actually dismiss your thoughts, because they're still coming from within you. And when you're alone, it's easy to just spiral and, latch onto it.
I'm curious about this thought thing, because I feel so many of our thoughts, negative thoughts now, have to do with us as human beings. Imposter syndrome, feeling like we're not enough. We fucked up a relationship. We didn't show up. We didn't do our best. We're not performing at a high enough level. We're not making enough money. We're not, treating others the way that we should. I mean, all the things. How much of your thoughts were that versus the brain actually going back into its original form of protection and trying to keep you safe of like, what if there's someone above this hill with a knife? Or what if I run into a dead body? Or, your thoughts had to have been like stuff that normal people that are just living in the suburbs or anywhere in America, like think of ever, like, because your brain probably went into like tiger mode, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, and that was a good place to be because it really simplifies things. And
Yeah.
then at the end of the day, you feel like you did a good job and you solved those problems and you survived. And it was crazy though. If I was low on water, I could think of nothing else but getting to water. There's stretches where, all right, it's 4 hours of town and I'm low on water. That was my whole thought. Get to town, get water. Get to town, get water. That is like
survival.
It becomes the top priority by a mile.
Right.
And and then same thing if like you see someone who is a little sketchy and you're in a sketchy area, that's all you're thinking about, and you're strategizing about best way to go about this. If you have this encounter, what are you going to do? And so it's. Definitely not having those thoughts when you're just, wherever you are, where like I'm living right now. I'm not, I have enough water. I have coffee every morning. I have a hot shower. It's pretty safe.
Right.
And so I think then you have, more space for these kind of very kind of nonsensical thoughts, or just these thoughts that are, based on other ideas and what do I want, very abstract thoughts, what I want out of life. And those are, not easy to resolve. And so then I think that's when people get into trouble is when there's not an immediate solution to some anxiety they have.
Mm-hmm. So when did you get Savannah?
So
Savannah's your dog.
Yeah. Savannah's my dog. I got her in Austin, Texas after like 5 months of walking, and I adopted her from Austin Pets Alive.
So she was with you through most of the walk.
Yeah, for everything except those first 5 months.
Oh my gosh.
And in the beginning, going down from Dallas or from Houston down to Reynosa, Mexico, down to Mexico. For most of the time, she was a puppy and she was just in the back basket of this baby carriage I pushed. And eventually, I'd take her out and, train her a little bit and then put her back in and train her. And then eventually, as we were near in Mexico, she jumped out of the back basket. And I put her back in and she didn't want to stay in. So she jumped back out and I was like, all right, I guess she's walking now. And then, every day, 8 hours a day, she was walking right by me. She was a beast.
Oh my gosh. But you still had a cart, right? Or no?
Yeah.
You still push the cart with all your stuff in it?
Yeah. It was kind of, I went backpacking a few times in my life and I hated it. I hated having a backpack on.
Right.
And also I imagine like I'm pretty tall. And if I had a backpack for 7 years, I'd feel like I'd just develop scoliosis or something. So
it would be very hard on your back.
Yeah. And I could carry more with the cart, more water for the desert and, a camera, stuff like that. So I ended up doing what was basically just like a jogging stroller.
It was a jogging stroller. So it had the big wheels. What brand was it? You should get like a deal with them.
Yeah. I tried.
What was it?
Thule.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had a Bumble ride.
Oh, yeah.
I loved my Bumble rides, by the way. I don't know if they're still in business, but those were awesome strollers. I had two.
They are so hyper-engineered. Oh, sorry.
I had the double jogger. And then with the first baby, I had like the bassinet that you could also then put the normal stroller in. But oh my God, I could get my double jogger through a single door. Like that thing, and which was, just so you know, this was, 15 years ago. So to have a double stroller that fit through a single door, people were like, what is this stroller? It's like space age.
Yeah, they're so expensive and they're so crazy engineered. It was a smooth ride for all my things.
Yeah, yours was your.
Oh yeah.
Stroller?
By the end of the walk there, I was ready to freaking throw that thing off a bridge. I was so sick of it.
Oh, I bet. And so did Savannah? She ever sleep like in the stroller during the day, or was she just constantly walking? I mean, my dogs get exhausted after a 20-minute walk around the block.
No, she was a working dog, and she would sleep. The cart was definitely her home because if a stranger came over, her hackles would come up and she kind of put her body on their ankles, like, hey, kind of watch it. And she would, if it was hot and we were resting, she would go under the cart as best as she could for some shade. But she knew it was her home. And, at night when we camped, she would patrol a little bit. And then as far as the walking, I mean, she grew up walking and she knew no other life, basically. You know, she was a puppy and then we were walking 8 hours a day. And so that was life for her. I remember after the walk was over and I met my, now fiance, and we were moving from Seattle out here to Cincinnati, and her dad was a long haul trucker, and we came out in this semi with all our things in it, and he would take Savannah for a walk in the morning, and he would say, he's like, oh, I can see when when she's in walking mode because her ears go back. She only walks on the side of the road and she's just, this is, time to go kind of thing. And we were so synced up by the end when we were walking across America at the end. I could have never had her on leash. I could have had her ear brushing my calf 8 hours a day. And then the moment we turned off onto a smaller road, I say, go ahead. And then she knows, okay, now she can go and smell and walk around. So it was, it was an incredible, incredible life to share with a dog, I think, particularly because, we evolved together and we're so synced up. And a lot of the reason I got Savannah was for like the original reason that man and dog paired together is for
companionship.
Exactly. I'm going to feed you and you protect the camp. Now, she probably wouldn't have ever bit anyone or protected me at all, but, it made me sleep better.
I bet I know. Have you seen these hilarious TikToks where they're like, I pretend to fall down the stairs
Yeah,
and the dog does nothing. Like, we laugh at our dogs. They will bark at a bag rolling, across the street. But God forbid someone breaks into the house or the alarm goes off in the middle of the night. They're like, is someone going to turn that off?
Yeah, I'm sleeping here.
That's so funny. So, well, what a beautiful story that you had this dog with you. You walked the world. So do you feel like you found what you were searching for? Or did you find something entirely different?
A little bit of both. I mean, I definitely had the adventure and I gained a lot in understanding, saw a lot of the world. But then I think you also, once you're out into the world, it's never as you imagine it. I think that was a real surprise in a certain way. I remember before beginning, imagine I'm laying in bed and, oh my God, one day I'm going to wake up in El Salvador and it's going to be so crazy. Or I'm going to wake up in Peru and it's going to be wild. And then I got to El Salvador, you're like, oh, it's just like people hanging out and eating a different food and their clothes are a little different. It's a little hotter. And then you get to Peru and you're like, oh, it's just people hanging out. And so like you realize after a while, the elements everywhere you go are the same. And, they have different histories and different cultures and different politics. But really the base elements are the same, which was maybe I knew inherently, but it was very different to be on the ground and experience it. And then you also I changed in, ways that I couldn't imagine, where I just know myself much better than I ever imagined I could. And like looking back on who I was before I began the walk, I was like, this guy was an idiot. I mean, and then I think, what if like most people just go through their life without walking for 7 years and reflecting on themselves? That's terrifying.
Yeah.
And so it's like, feel very fortunate for that. And then, you learn, what matters to you and your strengths and weaknesses. Again, to be able to, dismiss thoughts in a certain way is a certain superpower. And just to be able to relax in life and say, you're doing fine, even when it feels like your head's telling you you're not. So yeah, it's a little bit of both. Some expected, mostly unexpected though.
Right. Do you live fairly minimalistic now?
I wouldn't say so. I don't have a bike. I don't have a car.
The shit you don't need. Like you go to, Costco and you're like, oh, I think I'll get 12 of these.
Yeah, I'm definitely not like, I'm not a minimalist. I lived the most extreme minimalist life for 7 years.
I just didn't know if it impacted you to where now you just like, we're like, oh, we don't need that, or I don't want that, or like the stuff. Because I sometimes look around this house and I'm like, how did I buy this? You know what? I sometimes I get overwhelmed. We have a big house and, we've got kids and you just keep collecting shit. And you're like, how do we have so much stuff that we just don't need? And then we continue to consume and we continue to buy.
Yeah, there's
and
this.
You lived for 7 years not doing any of that other than what you needed, because otherwise you had to push it around.
I experienced this like incredible kind of calculation that I would just live with all the time, where everything I was carrying, I was pushing. So I felt the weight of literally everything I had with me. And you had to balance how much does this weigh and how critical is this thing? and how often am I going to use it? And so, for example, like the tent and the sleeping bag, whatever that's just like a cost of living. You have to have it kind of thing. But I had this axle, and it's just a small little axle. And early on, the axle of the cart broke. And so I got this replacement, and it was very tiny, but it weighed a ton. And I would just think about, God, I want to throw this thing out so badly and cut this weight, but I just couldn't, because I knew if something went wrong, I had to have it, and you couldn't replace it. There's no other way to get around it. And then, like you and your house or me in my house, we don't have that same sort of weight attached to these things where we can just pile it in, and maybe they occupy some small space in our minds, but really they're totally removed from us. And then we just need to fill out our house. And so we pile it in, and then, it adds up.
Yeah. What was the weirdest unnecessary thing you bought?
The weirdest unnecessary thing I bought.
But you were like, I gotta have this.
I would say I'd say like a tarp maybe was like this thing that was weirdly
you
like
needed a tarp. I'm talking about like, were you ever like, oh, I need this little
one of those. Okay.
like a souvenir.
Well, it was tough because I couldn't carry a lot with me, but when I had a friend visit, I would always buy something. And the best thing I bought for sure was an alpaca blanket in Cusco in Peru. And so we were up there, we did Machu Picchu and all that. And you just keep hearing these stories in Peru and all your life, like how soft alpaca is. And I went to this market. I'm walking around this market. I'm feeling all these blankets. I'm like, they don't feel as soft as I think they should be, even though they all say 100% alpaca. And then I feel this one hanging. And I go, oh my gosh, this is incredible. Like, it's so unbelievably soft. And so then I say, hey, I'm going to buy this blanket. And the guy goes, oh, great. And so he takes it and he folds it off and he turns his back and he sits it down and he grabs another one from the shelf. I goes, no. I want that blanket, the one I felt. He goes, oh, okay, sure. And so he turns his back, grabs it, pretends to get a different one, pretends to pass me that one, but actually grabs me a different one and turns around. I go, dude, no, I want that blanket.
Right.
So I have, and then
Why didn't he want to sell that one to you?
What's that?
Why didn't he want to sell that to you?
I think because it's actually the real alpaca is actually very expensive and rare. And so a lot of them they just mix in. And so they say they're alpaca, but they're not actually fully alpaca. And because that was the only one that I felt that was, like a cloud. And I slept with it that night in this hotel, and I was pouring sweat underneath it. It was so hot. And so I have this, I had my friend come back with that, and I have it downstairs now, but I also have this amazing, it was kind of like this point of growth for me where I had been ripped off so many times traveling through Central America and South America when I didn't know what I was doing. And this was this moment where I was like, I did not get ripped off. I was the wise tourist who got the deal, and I didn't buy the counterfeit.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you ever feel like quitting? Were you ever like, I just can't keep doing this?
Yeah, I would say after about 2 years, I contracted a bacterial infection from somewhere in some water in South America somewhere, and it's very slow and gradual. And I had these just like small stomach aches, and eventually, to make a long story short, I ended up losing 45 pounds. I was down to like,
oh my God.
And I'm skinny, and
Did
so
you
I was
have
down
a parasite?
Some bacterial infection. Yeah,
45 pounds is a lot of weight.
Yeah, I was in agony all the time, withering away. I was down to, I think, 121 at my lowest. And eventually an antibiotic started working, and I recovered, and I picked up my walking in Europe, which should have been the easiest walking. It's flat, it's super developed. There's bike trails. It's beautiful. It's quiet. A lot of people speak English, but I was miserable because I had just been in agony for
how long did it take you to lose 45 pounds?
So I had been, it was probably like 6 months total time or maybe a little longer that I went from just like having stomach aches to until they found the like an antibiotic that worked. But the weight loss was pretty rapid. Once it started happening, it was pretty rapid. And that was probably like 2 months, and by then I was just losing a pound a day, basically.
But you probably were just stopping into different doctors, right? So you didn't have like anyone really providing you great care.
Well, so I was walking North Ireland and Scotland, and I was kind of I was getting worse and worse. And I had this day the day I entered Scotland, I walked 3 miles through North Ireland, took this ferry over to Scotland. I walked another 3 miles, and then I sat down in this field along the sea, and I was like, I am so tired. And then I realized that was the first time my body couldn't keep up with me. And I realized something was really wrong. And so then actually I tried to push on even a little bit longer, but I was so tired all the time and in pain. And I was having actually these really, really horrific spasms where I would black out, like 10 out of 10 pain. I would black out in pain. I'd be writhing on the ground. And so eventually I took a train down to London where my cousin was. And I was in and out of the hospital there in London. They couldn't figure out what's wrong. I flew home. I was in and out of the hospital again until something started working. And then once I put the weight back on, then I picked up where I left off. And
Oh gosh, that's
yeah,
terrifying.
yeah, it was not fun. It was not fun.
Yeah, because
But
it's
yeah, I
something
mean,
you ate or drank and there was just bacteria in it and it just got into your body. And isn't that wild?
yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, there's, it's crazy
So
because, yeah, there's also,
you had
okay.
done like half the world and then you had to come home, get well, and then you had to fly back over and start over again
Yeah, yeah, and
where
I
you
lost a
left
lot of
off.
like the physical endurance that I had too, so it was tough. And then I was just in pain for so long that when I was walking this beautiful section in Europe, I was just terrible company for myself. I was miserable. It'd be raining. I'd be pissed that it was raining. I would get to a cafe and it was closed, and I'd be fuming, like, why is this closed? Like my luck. And then I was thinking about, all right, I could be having a drink with my friends back home. I could be with my parents, my grandparents, and I think what got me through it was just again that that flag was also so rooted in what I knew I wanted out of life and what I valued in life. And so when I actually played out, all right, what if I went home and lived that life? And it's like, oh, it's an apartment and it's a 9 to 5 and it's all these other things that I had strived so long to create an alternative lifestyle against. And so when I actually played it out in my head, it just seemed absurd because this idea was so rooted in who I was.
Hey, it's Tara here, and I've got some big news. My brand new second edition Be Who You Came to Be book is finally here. It is loaded with new secrets, new stories, and emotional intelligence tips designed to help you create, own, and live the life that each and every one of you deserve and desire. You don't need another self-help book. You need a roadmap to bring you back to exactly who it is that you came to be. The book has a fresh new look. It has this beautiful wrap cover on it. However, hiding underneath it is that original gold foil and ivory cover designed to sit on your coffee table to inspire you daily to go all in on exactly who it is that you came to be. In addition to the book, yes, I've updated the journal too, and I am obsessed. The journal is full of quotes, of prompts, and places for your wildly positive affirmations. You can head over to my website to pre-order your copy on Amazon, or as an insider, you can snag one today. This isn't just a book, it is your guide to being exactly who it is that you came to be. Well, and the regret that you would have had, and probably there would have been shame and like all kinds of things, because this was literally who you, like, I believe it's who you came to be, right? I mean, this was your goal and who you were. And, I have this saying, and I tell people all the time, like, we have to take care of our bodies, because if we're not taking care of our bodies, like if the body feels good, the mind has a shot of feeling good. But when your body is not good, the mind will just sabotage. Like, just like you said, I mean, your body was in such frail condition that the struggles with your mind were just, exacerbated and worse and more. And I think that people forget about that so much, of like, this is why burnout doesn't work. This is why going in, directions of not sleeping enough, of not eating the right things, of not exercising, taking care of ourselves, eating too much, doing drugs, like all the things in excess will mess your body up so bad that your mind doesn't even have a chance.
Oh yeah, totally agree. I mean, like they say, health is wealth, right?
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. Okay. So what was your favorite country that you walked through?
There's a lot. I mean, a lot of great places, but the one I go back to, I'd say, was Turkey. And at Turkey, the people are just so warm. They're so friendly. Every time I camped there, I never worried about my safety at all. If I got discovered at night, it was by some shepherd with this shepherd dog who was super friendly, and the dog was super friendly with Savannah. And the food was great and hearty, and it's fairly well developed. So there's good infrastructure because they're a majority Muslim country. They have great fountains at every town, so it's super easy to get water and wash off. And then they have this incredible confluence of history and culture from being taken over so many times. And it's just, yeah, Turkey. I would recommend Turkey to anyone. It's fantastic. And I think for Americans, it gets slept on because you think it's so foreign, and you associate the Star and Crescent on the flag with, Islam, but it's amazing. It's a great place. And it's very varied too, the landscape.
I love that. What's the one country you won't be visiting again?
There's none I wouldn't visit again. I would say maybe though, like Azerbaijan was when I was there. I was there during COVID, and it's probably because of COVID. But in my mind, it was like a very boring country. But
Yeah.
just because it was probably just because I was there in COVID and everything shut.
Yeah. And I'm sure everyone's wondering, did you have to have a special visa? Like, how did you get in and out of these countries? And how were you able to not be in America for so long?
Yeah, so that was part of how I decided my route. Was I looking at the world map of what countries you can get into without a visa, or a visa upon entry, basically. And so I kind of let that decide my route. So it was only for Algeria that I needed to send my passport home to get a visa. And then Uzbekistan, I needed to go to the DC consulate. And then Kazakhstan in New York, I went up there. And when I said, hey, I'm going to be walking, you get a 30-day visa for Kazakhstan. And upon entry, but I know I needed more time. And I remember when I went there and told them my plans, first of all, they were like just so happy I was going to Kazakhstan. And when I asked them for 90 days, they're like, yeah, sure. You want more? And so it was like a piece of cake. But it's actually
Isn't
with
that where
the
Ali
American
G is
passports.
from? Is that Kazakhstan? The Ali G? Isn't he Kaz?
Oh yeah. Borat. Yeah. History. Yeah,
Borat,
exactly. Borat. Yeah. Ali G. London or
Ali G.
England, whatever.
What's that guy's name?
Sasha
Oh,
Baron
Sacha Baron
Cohen.
Cohen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's so funny.
Exactly.
He put Kazakhstan on the map.
He did. Yeah. I think that even they took his very nice, and they started using that as like the tourism like draw. It just says
my
Kazakhstan.
gosh.
They show all these beautiful shots, and then it says very nice.
Very nice. That's so funny. That's
Yeah.
so funny. Okay. So, I mean, this story, I just feel like I could be asking you questions, just trying to understand forever. Let's talk about, well, first off, I want to get into the children's book in a second, but I want to talk about, tell me about an unexpected moment of kindness that you just realized, like, the world is good.
Yeah, I mean, a lot, and way more. I had maybe like 2 or 3 kind of malicious encounters for the entire time I was out on the walk, and then 10,000 really kind ones. The one I would say that stands out and that was most I don't know, maybe not impactful, but it was really remarkable, was when I got to Turkey, and I had a follower. Her dad ran a tourist business there, and then now he had 2 hotels, and so he put me up for free in this hotel in like the center of Turkey. And when he asked how I was going to get, so the Bosphorus River divides Istanbul into 2. And it separates the European continent to the Asian continent. And there's a few bridges, but there's no bridges that you can walk. And so he was asking, how are you going to get over to the Asian side? And I said, I'll take the ferry. He's like, no, that's not good enough. We're going to figure out a way to get you onto the Bosphorus Bridge, which is like, you're not allowed on there because it's such a critical bridge for them that it's just controlled by the military and, protected. And so he spent so much effort like reaching out to people. We went to the mayor's office, we went to the head of transport office, and he's putting in all this legwork to try and get me across the Bosphorus Bridge. And eventually we were able to get the Facebook of the head of transportation and highways, I think it was. And I just messaged him and told him my story. And he said, oh yeah, if you show up at 6 o'clock on this Sunday, that'll be fine. And so I became the first private citizen to cross the Bosphorus Bridge on foot. And it was like this huge national story. So, and then everywhere I went in Turkey, I was recognized. I would come into some of these towns and they would literally have bands playing to like welcome me, and they'd put me up. And so it was crazy.
This is why you like Turkey.
That's in part. Yeah. And
that's
it's because of, but all because of Zeki
Yeah.
at Team X Hotel. But yeah, Zeki was just put in so much unnecessary effort to, make this thing happen.
right. What was the scariest encounter you had with Mother Nature?
Let's see. Yeah, I mean, probably honestly, like the heat was the worst when I was in some of these places. I got caught in a blizzard in Montana, which was pretty wild, but I was never really like scared for my life or anything. I'd say the heat in Costa Rica was like oppressively and wildly dangerous, where I was waking up at 4 a.m. Savannah, and I would walk until 10 a.m. and you couldn't walk after that because it was so hot. And I remember like pushing it even to that point to like get to some shade or something and feeling like my head is boiling and I'm going to pass out kind of thing. And then at night I would just sweat all night, and then you wake up and you'd be sweating all night.
Oh,
And kind of knew also that was a real teaching moment for me, where before then I was like, I'm just going to power through everything. And that really forced me to like, why don't you just like take midday off? And so that kind of became a habit. It's like whenever it was hottest, I would just like take that off, rest up, and then learn a little patience, honestly, and a little more tact on how I approach the days.
right. Yeah, you gave your body the ability to be human, right? And be like, I think that people are so afraid of rest. And I'm sure even in your situation where you had this goal, like rest was like early on, probably like, oh, I can't rest too much, or I don't want to take too long, because every step really counts. Okay, let's talk back to Savannah, because you wrote a children's book. You have a book as well, or
Yeah.
yeah.
Memoir. Yeah. The World Walk, which
Did
is
you
out with.
journal the whole time you were there? Did you video journal? Did you voice journal? Like write written journal?
Yeah. I have, I think 5 books that are pretty packed with detailed notes. So I always knew I was going to write a book. And so I kept very detailed notes. Every day I would write down some like unique detail about a place that I knew would be useful later for a book.
Right.
And then I was blogging all the time too. So yeah, the memoir, The World Walk, is out with Skyhorse Publishing. So should be everywhere, distributed by Simon and Schuster. So it's all over.
Yes. And then you wrote a children's book.
Yeah,
Let's
and the
talk
second
about
one will
that.
be coming out soon. Yeah. So the children's book was, this is more like a passion project. And so my mom is an illustrator. She worked for Tyco and Mattel as a toy designer for years, and then as a landscape designer. And a children's book was kind of like the convergence of her skills and my story and my writing. And so we have one out called Savannah's World of Adventure Crossing the Andes. And it's this true story of us crossing the Andes and me collapsing and Savannah being by my side. And then this next one, which should be out pretty soon, actually, I'm not sure when, but I just got, I'll have the first actually printed draft coming to my house very soon, is in Kyrgyzstan. And so it's kind of a way for kids to, learn a little bit about the world, have an adventure with Savannah, and, learn a lesson too.
And what a nice tribute to Savannah.
Oh, yeah.
A way to
Absolutely.
remember her. Yeah.
Yep.
So did Savannah make the entire walk, or did you walk the rest of it without her?
No, she made the entire walk. And then, 2 years after the walk was over, she passed. Yep.
Sweet girl.
Yep.
Well, I got to tell you, I have a children's book with my mom.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I wrote my book. I self-published my book. My book's actually with the publisher. It's officially going to be out this fall.
Oh, nice.
We're on pre-sale right now, we self-published this children's book as well, which I would love to actually publish it sometime. But my mom was an early childhood educator, and one of her butterfly goals, her flags, was that she always wanted to write a children's book. And so I said, well, I've always wanted to take the Be Who You Came to Be message and get that message to children at a younger age. I think that sometimes we forget that, from the time we're born, like we're here for a purpose, like we're discovering, our entire life is about self-discovery and about finding out who we are as a human being. And so we wrote that book together, and it's been so fun. And so we've done some events in schools. We're actually doing a couple back to school events this year.
Oh, nice.
That,
What's the name of the book?
Be Who You Came to Be, but it's
Oh,
about a
perfect.
little bee named Phoebe. And she's trying to discover what kind of a bee she is. And she just tries, being a mining bee and a sweat bee, and none of it just fails and gets down on herself. But then she discovers along the way that she's a honeybee and she loves dancing and pollinating and doing all her little twirls and all. It's just a cute little
Oh, I
story.
love this.
Um,
I'd be surprised if you couldn't find a publisher for that. It sounds great.
I know, it's really cute. Now, I have to tell you, I do have a butterfly goal, a flag of always, because I love dogs too, is to have the adventures of Olive and Fog. But just, they're like funny adventures. Like, they were out walking and they saw a squirrel and they freaked out and tangled up the leash and just like stuff that
Well,
kids
that's
think
more
is,
relatable than walking around the world. So
well,
it's probably
you know
good.
how kids think stuff like that, stupid stuff
Oh,
is
yeah.
so funny. Like
Oh,
they
yeah.
just, the funny things that the dogs do is just so great.
I
So
love that too. Maybe
yeah.
that's the next one coming.
The Adventures of Olive and Pog. Like we're they go to the vet and they're scared.
Yeah. Very
I mean,
relatable.
that is. They're so cute. Okay, so what is being who you came to be? When I say, Tom, be who you came to be, what does that mean to you?
For me, it means, like we spoke about earlier, I think just being okay with living one life.
Mhm.
One of the premises of my motivational speaking, but one of these things that I think really affects every aspect of our lives is paralysis of choice that we have right now, especially with the internet, with Instagram, and that we want to be everything and we want to do everything and we want more and we want to be more, that we end up just having this low level anxiety all the time. And so along the same message as be who you can be, I think you just be okay with living one life and settle into
Mhm.
that, make the most of it. But, don't kill yourself if things aren't exactly as planned.
Yeah. I mean, we do write our stories one day at a time, and no one's promised tomorrow. We never know what's going to happen, whether it be, a detour or Mother Nature or a grief or a loss or something new and an opportunity. Like things just are constantly in motion. And I do feel like this experience that you had to have been so grounding and just so amazing. Do you have another flag that you've planted that is like your next big adventure?
Right now, I'm working on the second book, and so it's kind of self-helpy book, and it's based on 7 truths basically that I learned when I was out walking and how to apply them to your life to live more effectively and more peacefully. And so that's right now. So I was working on that this morning, and it's good. It's a good motivation. It's a good organizer for the day.
And a wedding, right?
And a wedding. Oh yeah, that's a
I
big
mean,
one.
you can walk the world or you can get married. Both of them require a lot of planning.
Oh yeah, the wedding more so. Yeah,
When is the wedding?
May 9th of next year. We were
Oh,
just talking about bands
congratulations.
this morning. Yeah,
Oh, good. Is it a big wedding? Is it
yeah. I
a
have a
church
huge
wedding?
family.
Is it a where are you getting married?
Yeah, so we get married in Philly. I have a massive family. Most of them are in Philly. Bonnie, my fiance, is from Alaska. Her family's very spread out, so Philly just kind of made sense. But yeah, it's gonna be a big wedding, and there's kind of no way to get around it.
Yeah. Is it at a church? Is it at a venue?
It's at the German Society in Pennsylvania, which is kind of the only place that we could find in Philly where we can rent it all day and we can stay until 1 p.m. or 1 a.m. and kind of do whatever we want with it. It's in this beautiful building, got a great ballroom. We'll get married in this old, gorgeous library with all the wood and old books and
Oh,
stuff. So
cool.
it'll be really nice. I'm very, obviously very, very excited.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Well, do you have anything that you want to leave everyone with, that you just want to tell them how to find you, how to find your book? And I would love maybe give them one of the truths. Let's tease them with
Oh,
something
sure.
from your new book.
Yeah, so Tom Turcich, Tom Turcich on on the website, and then the World Walk. You just search the World Walk, and I'll show up there. But I would say, yeah. So for one of the truths, I would say you're smaller than you realize, and so that's one of these things that I learned. Actually, very came to a head at just meeting this very friendly guy in the deserts of Peru, doing his best. And that's when it really drove home. But basically what you take away from this is that you got to cut yourself a little slack. You control less of your life than you think you do. Control the things that you can control. And then also try and build in systems to take things out of your hands and kind of automate them in a way where you don't have to think about them, and you can just nudge yourself into a happier, more effective life. So, for example, if something very small you can do, you just get more plants because it's proven to make you happier. You get the plants, they're there in the background, your room looks nicer and you feel better.
I'm great with plants, except for when they have to come inside. And
Uh-oh.
I know winter comes and the plants are like, shit.
Oh yeah.
We're doing so good out here, but winter's coming.
Winter stuff.
You know what? I am proud of myself. There's one plant this plant I am like committed to, because this plant has been with me now. This is the third summer it's been outside. And it's made the adjustment. Like we're figuring it out. I have a couple plants actually that have done really well. And I don't know why the other ones haven't. I'm sure it's them, not me.
The green thumb is getting stronger.
It is. The green thumb's getting stronger. Well, Tom, I have loved having this conversation with you. When your new book comes out, we'd love to have you back on the show, share more of your truths. And I think that, today was just a great reminder that being who you came to be doesn't always look like a straight path. Sometimes it's a long road filled with doubts, discoveries, detours, and really, really sweet dogs that sometimes we realize how much we need companionship. You've taught us that fulfillment shows up in the middle of discomfort, that resilience is built 1 mile at a time, and that the world, despite what the headlines say, is full of kindness. Tom, thank you so much for shining your light, for being who you came to be, and for being on the show today.
Thanks for having me. It was a great time.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.